Alright, I guess it's time I start the talk about my walk with Christ and how it all started. Um, we'll start from the only place you can start, and that's from the beginning. I grew up in church, like a lot of people around my area. Um, my family grew up going to, well, my family, when I was growing up, kind of bounced in between churches. We originally started at like a... Is my audio coming through? Yeah, it is. Okay. Hold up. Gotta sneeze. Whew. Before I remember anything, we started at a, I think, Protestant style church. And that stopped before I had much consciousness. And then my parents grew up Catholic. So we went to a Catholic church for a really long time. Probably, I don't know, my dad would tell me probably 6 years. And my parents fell out of favor with that church. Not in like a bad way, their religion just didn't fit them anymore. Not that they fell away from Jesus, but Catholicism just wasn't right for them. And so we stopped going to church for a really long time. We did have, we still had interaction with the church. We were very much a holiday Christian, if you know what that means. Whenever on holidays we go for like Christmas and stuff, and definitely a holiday Christian. And that all changed in, I think, 2008, which is the year a lot of things changed for a lot of people, funny enough. And my dad will probably text me later and be like, hey, you messed up this part of the story. I don't remember. I was a young child for most of this story. In 2008, I was 9 years old, so gotta understand that I'm doing the best I can. But in 2008, my parents, obviously like most people at the time, were going through a pretty rough financial time. The economy was obviously terrible at that time. Some of you might not remember. Everything sucked. It was all expensive. Everything cost way more than it should. It was just a terrible year. My parents were sick of fighting the debt system, and so they decided to enroll in a financial literacy class at a local church, which is a Dave Ramsey financial class. That Dave Ramsey, if you don't know who he is, very Christian guy, runs a business that helps people become debt-free, and that's the whole goal, and it's a cool system. Works for some people, doesn't work for others. Some people like it, some people hate it. Not the point, though. And it just happened to be at that church. And that church changed our lives a lot. So, kind of breaking into that, a lot of things happened at that time. I met, excluding my wife, my best friend, with that church, and he helped me with my walk with Christ a lot. I wish he was still helping me with my walk, but he's got different things going on, and if you hear this, Mitchell, I hope we can walk together. But back to what I was talking about. So they went to that financial class for a while, and they passed through it, and became financially literate, and they realized they liked this church. Kind of a non-denominational, not necessarily evangelical or any. I really wouldn't be able to tell you the way to explain it. And that's the church they still go to. And so that church plays a huge role in my walk with faith. We had an amazing pastor whose name was Michael McAfee. And I will tell you that Mike did more for my walk with Christ than I knew at the time. Definitely planted a lot of seeds. Very charismatic guy. Very... I don't want to make bad words. I'm just gonna say it because it's the truth. Very much a southern black preacher type energy. Very energetic, very just all around the place. Love to sing, love to just everything. It was just all. It wasn't a show like in the sense that it was fake or something, but it was very entertaining. And his sermons were a blast. He had skits, he had questions. If you answered questions, he'd throw you candy. Really started getting me engaged in church. But it didn't stick. And it's nothing he did, because, I was figuring some stuff out in my life. And that kind of leads into the second part. So the other thing that was going on at the time is I did martial arts. And one of the families that was at the martial arts group, my family was very, very close to. Extremely close. And they offered to take me to a Christian event called Flame On. And for those that don't know, probably most of you, because I hadn't heard of it until then, Flame On is an event held by a group called CMA, or Christian Motorcycle Association. And they hold rallies all across the states. And one of the things they do is they hold it's called a rally called Flame On. And it's where youth go down to this special place that they have property on, and it's a multi-day event, and you spend the days working up to, and then you start the new year with Jesus. And it's a really great way it's a very social type thing. Awesome time. And so they offered to take me there, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Little did I know that was going to be like the most life-changing event in the world for me. So I stayed home from some family gatherings that year. I skipped Christmas at my grandma's, and I got packed. And it's still crazy to me that this happened. The weather got pretty crappy. And so they had to decide that we were leaving early. The bus that they charter buses from certain points in the state, actually from most states, had to leave early. And I somehow just so happened to be packed and home, ready to go. So they picked me up that night, and I got onto the bus, and we went down. And spoiler alert, this is where things get kind of crazy. I met my wife on that bus. I met my wife right there on that bus, and I had no clue at the time. That's getting a little distracted. So go down to this youth rally. It's not really getting distracted. It's really important to the story. I go down to this youth rally and I learn about God. I spend a lot of time with God. I'm 16 at this point in time, so I'm also spend time with pretty ladies, mostly flirting with what is now my wife. Not what I went down there to do, obviously, not the intention of going down there, but it happened. And so, get done with that, really good time, and still kind of at a young Christian who knows what God's about, knows who God is, doesn't necessarily not believe in him, but doesn't have the strongest of faith yet. And, during this time, I was volunteering at church, running the soundboard in the back, doing plays, Christmas times, running word presentations if the pastor had any of those. I mean, I was just very integrated with the church, but it was very much a because I had to be there type thing, not because I wanted to be there. And I think that'll resonate with a lot of people. I think when you grow up Christian, you kind of get into this rhythm of, oh, yep, church on Sunday morning, and, oh, music practice on Wednesday night. You get into this rhythm where you just do it. It's second nature, and it's maybe not exciting. And so I got into that cycle. I stopped paying attention on Sundays. I just kind of let my brain wander, do whatever I wanted, played on my phone, didn't really pay attention. And so that year it's on, things are fine. And I start dating what is now my wife. And come to find out she lives like 2 hours away from where I live. Not that big of a deal. So we start this long distance relationship. And come to find out her dad's a pastor. Which is cool. Didn't think much of it. Guy scared me half to death, but that's the way it's supposed to be. And just continued my almost lukewarmness. My wife and I, well, my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, dated for a long time. And, we got to the point where things were pretty serious, and I had to go off to college, which is fine. And we stayed together through college, but right as I was leaving for college, through all of this practicing Christianity, but not really being a Christian, God spoke something to me. I'm so mad I didn't listen to it at the time. He gave me the call to go into ministry, and I was like, no. That's just my brain. Surely that's not what he's telling me. I'm just thinking, whatever. I sat there and denied what he had told me because I thought there's no way he could ask someone like me. And I went off to college to go do a computer engineering program. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I got way into the program, and I was a year in, and I stopped liking it. I got depressed. Not to the point where my life was in danger, but it was bad. I didn't feel any emotions. I felt like a zombie every day, all day. It was it's a terrible feeling. If you've never felt it, I hope you never have to, because it is one of the worst feelings in the world to feel nothing. And I felt nothing. And that lasted longer than I'd like to admit. That happens sometimes. And instead of doing something about it, I just dealt with it. I obviously had medication and stuff prescribed. Did my deals with that. Took my depression medication at the time, and just kind of went through life. Started working at a little factory near my hometown. At that time, I got engaged. Things were great. My relationship with my wife was fantastic. My relationship with Christ, not so much. And shortly after dropping out of college, I felt called the second time. And I did the exact same thing. It's like, nah, there's no way. Surely it's just my brain. He doesn't want me. No, I can't talk to people. I'm not social. Surely it's just not the way it is. No way. And so I ignored it again. And got married, had some children, started working on a job I really don't like. Still don't like it, but that's a different story. And things started going downhill pretty bad. I had a fight with depression, got pretty severe. I don't necessarily need to elaborate on that more. I'm willing to if you want me to talk about it, but if I don't have to talk about it, we'll just say things got bad. And if you're listening to this and things are bad for you, please first off know you should reach out and get help. That's something I wish I would have done. You shouldn't fight through it alone. Please reach out and get help. I didn't. Wish I had, but I didn't. And we're gonna leave it at that. Obviously I'm okay. Nothing happened. But if I would have reached out, I would have been healthier a lot sooner. And I got into this terrible cycle of depression, anxiety, hopelessness, sadness, depression, anxiety, hopelessness, just this repeating terrible disease. I mean, it was a disease where nothing made me happy, nothing made me feel good. I felt sad constantly. It wasn't a lack of emotion, there was just everything just sucked, and I started to get some pretty regular panic attacks. And I didn't turn to God. I just went, well, that's how life is. Life just sucks for everyone right now. It sucks. Whatever. COVID hit at that time. Obviously, it didn't help things. And I just kind of roughed through it. And we had the birth of my second child. And that made things worse. We bought a house at that time, which was, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I own a home. Owning a home is stressful. It's expensive. So I got to a point where I was having trouble affording things. My finances sucked. Everything just seemed like it was fighting against me. And then I got better for a little bit. Started going to church down here where I live now with my wife's church and to her dad's church. And things kind of stalemated for a while. My financial situation didn't improve. Frankly, it's still pretty shaky, but we're getting there. And I did this weird thing where I'd fall in and out of my relationship with God. Do him for a week, do really good, feel good, and then stop talking. Talk to him for a week, feel good, feel awesome, and then stop talking. Horrible cycle. And I didn't talk to her dad about it. Just kind of kept it to myself. I didn't want him knowing that I was struggling with my faith. And if you're struggling with faith, like, reach out. It's not a shame. You should never feel ashamed. Like, it's the devil. He tempts us all, and he's good at it. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he knew exactly what he's doing. He attacked me everywhere he could. Financially, mentally, socially. I started working nights. I lost a relationship with friends. All of a sudden, this system I thought I had built where I was happy and healthy, even though I wasn't happy and healthy, I just thought I was, came crashing down. And I fought with that cycle for almost 2 years. And things continued to get worse. Finances were always in and out. Could do better, but it's a work in progress. And my wife and I have always done well together in our relationship. We wanted a third kid, and I know I might get some judgment for wanting a third kid when I was struggling financially. Look, we didn't care. I mean, we care now, obviously, but we didn't at the time. And I could see it in the chunk. So we wanted another kid, and so we started trying for another kid. And absolute disaster struck. It's hard to talk about, honestly. And this might trigger some people out there. Listen, I'm really sorry. We had 2 miscarriages back to back. I'm talking within a couple months of each other. We got pregnant, had a miscarriage, and then 2 months later got pregnant again and had another miscarriage. And for those of you who have never gone through that, I'm grateful that I hope you never have to. It's a horrible, horrible thing. It's hard on everything. And my wife, who grew up obviously in church, knowing God's love, I think it hit her the hardest because one day she was in tears. And she got upset, and we talked about it, and she was mad. She might tell me I'm wrong on this, but the way I interpreted it is she was mad at God. She was mad at God because we had this beautiful, beautiful baby, and it got taken away. And she was mad at God, and when someone's going through that, it's a word of advice, there's not a lot you can say besides I'm sorry. That's just how it works. You know, a lot of people say a lot of the wrong stuff. If you know someone's going through it, just say you're sorry, and don't try and give them a reason. Or a lot of people like to say, well, at least you know you can have kids. That's not helpful. Somebody's going through that. But nonetheless, we had 2 miscarriages in a row, and that was rough on my relationship with God. It was worse on my wife by a long shot. But we struggled with God, and I had kind of started to regain my faith at this time. And I didn't even know how to explain to her that it's not God. God would never hurt you like that. And that's hard, you know. And so we mourned for quite a few months. I tried to regain my relationship with God. I started reading my Bible again. That was a game changer, obviously. It seems kind of silly to say that, but it was. But it didn't fix things instantly. You know, it took me a while to start healing. And we got pregnant. We had a daughter, which was great for us. We wanted a daughter, and you know, it was good. And things were back to being a little better. And then they weren't. Money got really hard. Working a lot of overtime, paying bills late, just trying to scrape by every penny we could. We never felt satisfied. Ever. I always wanted more, needed more, didn't have enough. It was exhausting. It was so burnt about everything all the time. I was angry, I was tired, stressed, I was sad, I was broken. The panic attacks started to set back. I changed my dosage for a while. See if that was help. It didn't. Helped for a little bit. I tried, you know, like I tried a couple herbal supplements. I'm not talking like what you're probably thinking. I'm talking like gummies that they sell at Walmart for stress. A bunch of like essential oils in them, basically. And that helped a little bit. I still wasn't full. Something was empty, something was missing, and nothing I could get at was filling it. It's horrible. It's scary. It's sad. It's stressful. I got kids. I don't want them to see this. I know that, you know, as a dad, and everything has to be put together. Your kids have to know you're human, but this felt like more struggle than my kids should have to deal with. Constantly upset, constantly tired, constantly stressed. It rubs off on your kids. And I didn't know what to do. Until I could find the exact date. In fact, I might. In fact, I'm going to, because I'm curious. September 26th. Holy crud. 3 months ago. Everything changed 3 months ago. September 26th. I woke up. I've been reading my Bible. Through that. Sort of the Spirit app, which I promise you, if you have to read your Bible, please go read it, go look into it. It's amazing. I get so much of it all the time. You just added new chapters. Actual lifesaver. I'd been kind of lightly praying again. Just trying to figure something out. Something had to change. Something had to give. Something had to break. Something had to be different. I couldn't keep living this way. Constant stress was bad for me. And that morning, I still don't know what happened. I mean, I know what happened, obviously, but I woke up, got paid, and my paycheck was not ideal. Not like above or below what I was expecting, but I was hoping for more, and I knew things were just going to get stressful again. And I broke down. I had a panic attack for basically an hour, trying to get ready for work so I could go work this job I didn't like, to a place that the people there don't necessarily like me. And I don't know what urged me. I started praying. And it was something really simple. I think it was, God help me. Like, please, I can't do this. I am burnt out, stressed out. I am completely out of stamina for this. I'm done. I have to give it up. I can't do anymore. I had a panic attack while praying to God. And I prayed to him for... You can hear my voice breaking because it's a very emotional thing. It's because I'm thirsty, but that's not necessarily the point. I don't know. But I don't know how it worked out. I mean, I do. I got a 30-minute drive to work. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but let's just crank some worship music. I need something that's gonna take my mind off this. Let's just crank some worship music. And so I ended up turning on... My wife had been listening to Christian music recently, which is weird because we didn't talk about it, it just kind of happened. We both started praying and reading our Bible again. Obviously not unintentional. God's got crazy strong plans that we could never fathom. But my wife's been listening to a lot of Christian music in the car. And I was like, okay, let's just try something of hers. And I couldn't tell you what played at first. I think I was listening to Brandon Lake, I want to say. I'll find it. Hold up. Because I saved it. Because you save these kind of things. I want to say it started with That's Who I Praise by Brandon Lake. Maybe I searched up worship songs and I just listened to something else. But Out of My Hands by Jeremy Camp came on. And I sang like my life depended on it. I sang like I had never sang before, a true cry of distress and passion, and it's crazy to talk about, and like it's kind of I'm actually kind of tearing up, like not just thirsty, like I'm actually kind of tearing up. I remember being on the road. I could literally drive exactly there and point to exactly where it happened. I was singing It's Out of My Hands, and it felt like the warmest person in the world. And it was kind of chilly that morning, so warmth was welcome. But it felt like a warm person just came up and hugged me from behind. I'm sitting in my car, in a seat, right? I'm sitting in the car seat, so it's not like that's reasonable. My heated seats, I don't think we're even on. It wasn't a physical hug, but I felt the Holy Spirit wrap its arms around me in an embrace, in the most warming, comfortable embrace you could ever imagine. And my panic attack stopped in its tracks. Completely disappeared. Just completely gone. I had gone from trying to figure out if I was even going to make it through work that day to crying while driving because this intense stress and pressure was gone. And I cried to God. I cried a lot. And I thanked him, and I started listening. I started listening to what he was asking of me, telling me to do. And that is exactly when this YouTube channel, well, not this YouTube channel, but because this channel is linked with my old content, but that's exactly when this whole thing started. I asked God, what am I supposed to do? what are you calling me to do? I know you're calling me to do something, but what is it? And I got the overwhelming response of minister. Actually, I got the overwhelming response of, for the third time, minister, which is funny. And so this is immediately what happened. This channel right here. And I will tell you that, yeah, sometimes you stumble backwards. Sometimes I find myself not talking to him enough. I get stressed, I get busy, I almost get negligent. I'm not gonna tell you that doesn't happen. But it is amazing how it feels to have the Holy Spirit wash over you and just, I mean, it was the warmest, most comfortable hug in the world. If you can imagine hugging the most comfortable person you know, that warm, stress-eating embrace, and times it by 1,000,000, that's what I felt that day. And God gave me the call to start this ministry. And I said, all right, why'd you have to choose something that makes me really nervous? But okay, fine. So I did. And I have continued to pray. And I'm like I said, like I was kind of getting at, I'm not going to lie to you and say I haven't slipped, go back into some old habits. I have. That was really good at that. Really good at hurting you. Right exactly where you've done things 1,000 times. But I will tell you that everything has changed. Yeah, my finances still rough. Oh well. I don't care about that. I don't chase money anymore. It doesn't matter, it's money. It's gonna come, it's gonna go. I can't take it with me to heaven, so it don't matter. And so, that was a big thing, right? My stress of money just disappeared. Absolutely disappeared, because I knew that God had always taken care of me. I always had just enough to pay bills. Sometimes they were late. Sometimes it was scraping by, but I always got paid. I always had power and heat and food. And so money stopped mattering. And when money stopped mattering, a lot of things changed. I became a lot more present as a father. Which is important for me. I want my kids to know a father who's present and loving. I stopped sinning in a lot of the ways I was sinning. I started reading my Bible every day and praying all the time. And it's insane how much happier I am. I am leagues happier than I ever could have been without this change. I honestly don't think I could tell you a time in my adult life where I've been happier than this. And that's not to say that I don't get stressed or worried or anything like that. I mean, obviously, it's an adult life. Things get hard. But I don't dawdle on them. I know I have someone who's always going to take care of me. That no matter what's going on in the world, no matter the elections, stock market, or food prices, or anything else, that our God the Father is going to keep me safe, my family safe. And that's something that you can't put money on. You couldn't purchase that. I know it's like, oh, Gabe, it sounds like a lot of stresses were about money. Yeah, maybe if you had more money, it wouldn't have changed anything. I wasn't full. I was chasing to fill a hole only God could fill. And when God filled that hole, everything changed. I haven't had a panic attack since September, what I said, 26th. I've not had a panic attack since then. My wife's and I's marriage, which has always been a good marriage, has gotten better in ways that I didn't expect it to. My relationship with my friends has gotten better. My relationship with my dad has gotten better. I mean, all these crazy things that I thought I had good things. No, no. Everything I had was material and fickle compared to what I've received after coming to know Christ. And it's all accumulated to something that's happening this Sunday. Oh, I'm nervous to talk about this. I'm preaching for the first time ever at the church I go to every Sunday I can. I work some Sundays, which I know is not good, but so I God has worked really hard on me, and I keep asking God to give me more stuff to do, and then He gives it to me, and then I'm like, yeah, but is that like, that's not what I really wanted. And it's a funny thing where it's like, yeah, I know that's not what you wanted. You're not comfortable doing it. You're not supposed to be comfortable doing it because you're not doing it alone. I am with you. You have peers that are with you. Like, you're not doing this alone. So it doesn't matter if you're not comfortable. And so Sunday, I get to preach in front of my father-in-law, who was huge, walk with Christ. My wife, who honestly led the charge, and I could not thank her enough for never really giving up on Christ. Even after the terrible, horrible things that she went through, she never gave up. And the fact that we both had this urge to come to know Him again at the same time is, I mean, that's God's timing. That's you couldn't even say that's coincidental. It's too big to be coincidental. And so yeah, this Sunday I get to preach, and I'm anxious, man. I am not scared. I'm excited, but I'm very anxious. I know God will be with me, so it's gonna be okay. But don't want to do Him wrong, you know. Yeah, that is the bulk of my testimony.